Henry Ford was born July 30th in 1863 in Wayne County, Michigan. He took a job with Edison Illuminating Company in Detroit in 1891. He then began experimenting with parts, and 5 years later he invented the quadricycle. While being pleased with the progress he made, he established the Ford Motor Company in 1903 and owned it with his son Edsel. 5 years later, he introduced the Model T and eventually made many different cars. Henry Ford was the most popular entrepreneur of his age, creating the car that would become a vehicle, ensuring freedom for the common man. After the car, Ford opened 35 branches throughout the United States, which received finished pieces ready for production. One way to lower the cost for customers was the assembly line. The assembly line would help Ford create new products, rediscovering concepts about modern day. Ford established the assembly line in 1913. Some say when Ford invented the assembly line, industry was changed forever. The way the assembly worked is that the workers stood in place while a moving belt carried along the cars. The conveyor belt that the parts were delivered to workers was timed. They had just enough time to assemble the part. This reduced the time to make a car from 12.5 work hours to 1.5.
The Ford Company also began to produce their own parts instead of buying them. In 1914, Henry raised the minimum wage to $5 a day for 22 years and older. At the end of the 1920s, he came up with a cost-saving plan that took into account raw materials, labor, tax, and transportation costs. This system was called Fordism.
Ford's development of interchangeable parts and assembly line production had paid off not only for this ambitious man from Michigan, but also for his countrymen.
The Henry Ford assembly line dramatically increased sales and production for many companies. It lowered the workday hours for employees from 9 to 8 hours due to the faster production of vehicles, changing manufacturing forever.
Seem to be so cheerful, here's an earful of the chatter you hear. Every morning, every evening, ain't we got fun? Not much money, oh but honey, ain't we got fun? The rent's unpaid, dear, we have.
Even so, when Henry Ford died in 1947, his countrymen mourned him as one of the great industrialists who changed the American way of life. The company that bears his name, the Ford Motor Company, is still providing us with new automobiles today.